Hi, friends. I want to take a couple minutes today and just honor the memory of our daughter, Alexandra Manos. She went by Alex or Al or Sassafras when her dad was talking to her. There's a picture of her behind me that we keep on our piano. It's one of the photos that we had blown up for the photo gallery wall at her memorial service, and it reminds me of what a special person she was. The smile she always had and the kindness and the love that she had for others. So I just want to remember her, share a few things that we've experienced in the last 1,000 days. It's been 1,000 days since I last had the opportunity to hug my daughter. It's been 1,000 days since I looked in those stunning blue eyes and told her that I love her. It's been 1,000 days since we received the worst news of our life. It's been 1,000 days since I had to call my husband in the middle of the night when he was on a business trip in Connecticut and wake him up and tell him that our daughter was dead. It's been 1,000 days since some very dear friends showed up and spent the whole night with me so I wouldn't be alone while waiting for James to arrive, get his flight back to Phoenix. It's been 1,000 days since those friends comforted me and prayed for me, and then were there when James got home and prayed for both of us, and have, just walked through those first days. I thought I could do this without crying. I don't know why I thought such a thing. It's been 1,000 days since I had to make all those phone calls to friends and family and deliver this horrible news and bring pain to their lives because they loved her too. It's been 1,000 days of experiencing the manifest presence of God at a much deeper level than I've ever encountered before in my life. It's been 1,000 days of the realization that he is exactly who I've always thought he was, who I've always known him to be. He is good and he is faithful, and he walks through these things with us. He doesn't fail us. He doesn't forsake us. It's been 1,000 days of knowing that what the enemy meant for our harm, God has used for our good. It's been 1,000 days of being reminded that this was not his plan for our daughter's life. It wasn't his will for her. It wasn't her time to go. He doesn't have a purpose in her death, but he will use what the enemy meant for our destruction, and he will bring good from it. And I believe he's done that in a million ways. It's 1,000 days of resting in peace that truly does pass understanding. In the days following Alex's death, we all try to make things fit into a box and we try to understand them, and some things just don't make sense. This did not make sense. Our daughter was making plans to travel and do things with friends, and she had bought a horse as a weanling, and he was getting big enough to need a trainer, and she was in the process of hiring a trainer. She was planning for life, and in a moment of desperation, really because of a brain chemical imbalance and some difficult situations in her life, in that moment of desperation, she acted irrationally, and that can't be undone. But I needed a friend to just pray with me who would just speak the word over me. And I have a dear friend who has a special gift in this area, Christina, priest, spent about 30 minutes just praying the word, speaking the word, reminding me of what's true and what's good and what's real. And there was a funny moment in that conversation after she prayed where I told her, I said, Christina, it's been like a physical presence of peace in the house that didn't make any sense to me at this really, horrible time. And we laughed because she said, well, Nancy, it's Jesus. He is your peace, and he is a person. He is real, and he's there with you. And that was one of those moments where we laughed because, of course, I know this, but it was a very sweet reminder. And he's been like that every day since. So it's been 1,000 days of just being assured of the solid foundation on which we stand because we have faith in the Lord. It's been 1,000 days of remembering the 23 years that we did have with Alex, all of the special memories and the funny things that happened and the sweet things that happened and just who she was as a person. It's been 1,000 days of missed opportunities, moments we don't get to share with her, new memories that we don't get to create with her. It's been 1,000 days without the kindness and generosity and love that she shared. It's been 1,000 days without her wit. She was so funny and so smart and so thoughtful. But the zingers that, even as a little girl, that would come out of her mouth always made us laugh and just appreciate the sharp mind that she had and what a fun person she was. It's been 1,000 days of drawing close as a family. You know, James, Olivia, and I are closer than ever. It's been 1,000 days of victory over the enemy. He may have won in an instant, but he didn't get to keep winning because we know he's defeated. Alex was a believer in Jesus, so I know exactly where she is. We're 1,000 days closer to being reunited in heaven, but there is hope that we will see her again, and we know that he's defeated, and he doesn't have a foothold in our life. He doesn't get to steal my joy and my peace. So it's 1,000 days of walking that out. It's 1,000 days of knowing that grief and joy can coexist. You know, sometimes over the past 1,000 days, for the most part, grief has been like a ripple, just a quiet ripple in the background. It's there, always in my periphery. But, you know, of course, then those times where it's more like a Charlie horse that comes out of the blue, suddenly takes your breath away. The pain is indescribable, and you don't know how long it's going to last. But for the most part, it's been those moments of sharp pain. But really, it's been more resting and trusting in God, feeling the feelings, not denying them. We're not in denial. This did happen. It's part of the story of our family. But it isn't our daughter's whole life. It isn't her whole story. And there's so much more to who she was than how her life ended. And so it's 1,000 days of being reminded of all that is good and is true, and how good God is and how faithful he is and how he hasn't failed us and he hasn't forsaken us, and how he's walking alongside us. Let's see, what else do I have here? Things that I was reminded of about the 1,000 days. It's 1,000 days of being reminded that life is worth living, that we are here for a purpose. Alex, I know, would want me to live my life and to love and to serve and to be a blessing to others. So I'm honoring her by doing that, by living, by laughing, by loving, by doing things that I enjoy. You know, and it's been neat because in 1,000 days, our marriage is better than it's ever been. I'm so thankful for James that we have walked through this together and done so so faithfully and successfully. And where many families are torn apart by devastating loss, we're stronger and closer. So I want to read to you. I wanted to read this on some kind of Facebook Live or video since Alex died, and I feel like now's the time. I received a card and a letter from a friend who is a homeschool group leader in the northern part of the state, up in the White Mountains. And I saw her a week after Alex died, which was the homeschool convention that I run. And she was there serving at our Mentoring Moms booth. And she gave me a hug, and she said some funny things in my ear that made me laugh. And then she said, "I'm not sending you a card that has magnolias on the cover." And so this is the opening of her letter to me. I got this shortly after in the mail. I want to say this is probably the best sympathy letter I can even imagine. And I think this should be a template for how we express concern for one another. It's funny and it's powerful and it's personal. And so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so dear Nancy, okay, so I told you I was not going to send you one of those cards with 2 magnolias on the front. I'm not sure why anyone thinks that sad-looking hills and flowers will make heartbroken people feel better. So here's a card about booze. I'm glad you know me, so you won't be offended. I'm typing you this letter because my handwriting is terrible, and what I want to say won't fit into the booze card. I wish I could say something really wise and comforting and timely. I don't think such a thing exists in this circumstance. I'm tempted to plagiarize the wisest, most timely stuff off the internet, but I won't. Quite simply, this is horrible. One of the most horrible things that could ever happen to you. I don't know how you feel. I can't begin to imagine. My other dear friend who lost a daughter several years ago calls it the worst sorority I've ever been part of. I agree with that, by the way. When people asked her how she kept going, she said, "Every day I just put one foot in front of the other. It seemed to work, so I kept doing it." Even the shared experience with other mothers may not help. They didn't lose Alex. She is yours, special, beautiful, loved. And now she is being loved by the only one who could ever love her more than you or James. If it were physically possible, I would carry some of this grief for you if I could. Please know that HEFC up here in the White Mountains is praying for you. Okay, I thought I could read this without crying. And as you learn how to live this new normal, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here if we can do anything to help you, for reals. Use this money for whatever the heck you want. Maybe gin, maybe Baskin Robbins, maybe enough fluffy socks that you can wear a new pair every day for a year. Whatever you want or need. I think this is the part where I'm supposed to write a scripture. John 11:35. Jesus wept. That's all I've got. I'm sure there's a ton of awesome commentary on this particular verse, but what it says to me is this. He understands your grief. Let him walk you through it. The deep capacity we have for grief reminds us of the deep capacity we have for love. Much love, Becky Esparza. That letter has ministered to me so many times over the last 1,000 days. I keep it on a bulletin board downstairs, and I read it quite regularly, just to be reminded of those truths and how much we're cared for. So before I dissolve into a pile of tears, I just wanted to share briefly what a joy it's been to be Alex's mom for those 23 years. Sorry. I want to be encouraging and uplifting and yet real. It still hurts after 1,000 days, and it'll hurt for the next 1,000 and the 1,000 after that. But we look forward to life with purpose and joy. I have purpose in my life, and I'm blessed to keep living it. And I will keep living for the next 1,000 days and 1,000 days after that and 1,000 days after that. And really just looking for ways to glorify God, to be the hands and feet of Jesus, to bring light and life to others, to enrich the lives of others as I do my daily life, whether it's in service to the homeschool community or just other fellow humans on this life, in this journey. And so I pray as you live your days, if you've suffered a great loss or if something happens in the future, that you would continue to turn to the Lord, that you would find peace and comfort, even in the most trying and difficult and painful times. He is good. I can't say that enough. He is good and he is loving. He promises to be our peace and our comfort. And he doesn't leave us without hope. And we are never alone. And so just pray blessings on your day. Thank you for just indulging me as I remember our daughter, Alex. James is currently in Reading with Olivia and the grandboys and Blake, and they are living their best lives, playing at the park and doing all the little boy things. And I'm just so glad that he's there with Olivia, and I wish I were too, but hopefully I'll get to see them soon. If you know someone who suffers from depression or has had suicidal thoughts, or if you don't, I would encourage you, if you haven't already watched it, to watch the recording of Alex's memorial service that we held in August of 2017. If you search YouTube for Alexandra Manos, you will find her memorial service. It's worth the hour to watch it. You know, certainly take it in chunks if you need to, but our good friend, Dr. Jerry Law, did an amazing opening talk about the impact of depression and how it steals and it lies, and then also the hope that we have in Jesus. And you'll get to hear Olivia and I both shared, and there were some video clips of friends and family that shared briefly, you know, something that they remembered about Alex. And of course, there's a slideshow of pictures from her childhood on up. And so if you know her, it's fun to go through those memories and just be reminded of the life that we celebrated that day and continue to celebrate every day since. And if you didn't know her, it's a good way to get to know our family and a little bit about our daughter. But and then on my blog, which my website is being redesigned, I'm super excited about this. It's old and it's not mobile friendly, and the new design is going to be beautiful and amazing, and the functionality that's coming I'm really thrilled about. But in the meantime, on my current blog at nancymanos.com, there are several blog posts about our journey, as especially shortly after Alex died. I wrote a lot, and I'd like to get right back to writing soon. I actually have a book in mind that I've started outlining. And so a lot of that is inspired by my daughter, because she tried new things all the time, and she was so good at just stretching herself. And considering what a shy little girl she was, to see her blossom and to touch the lives of so many just by being herself. And so enjoy your day. Thanks for remembering our girl with me today. And I look forward to the next 1,000 days and the 1,000 days after that, for what God has in store for us. And so thanks so much.